The corporate offices of Meridian Consulting sat on the 32nd floor of a downtown glass tower. Open floor plan, sleek modern furniture, the kind of place that looked impressive but made everyone feel slightly off. Nathan Cross worked in analytics, building data models to predict market trends. At 35, he was quiet, precise, brilliant at his job, but invisible socially. Same clothes every day, dark pants, plain button-down, sleeves rolled up. He ate lunch alone, always reading. He left at exactly 5 o'clock because his 7-year-old daughter Sophie needed to be picked up, and no report was worth missing a single moment of her life. His desk was near the glass-walled conference rooms, giving him a clear line of sight to the main boardroom. He never looked. Office politics didn't interest him, until the day he saw something he shouldn't. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Nathan was deep in a tricky data set, headphones on, fully focused. He glanced up for a second to rest his eyes. Through the boardroom glass, he saw Rebecca Ashford. The CFO, 41, sharp, respected, feared. She sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable. 3 board members faced her. But it wasn't the meeting that caught Nathan's attention. It was Rebecca. She was crying, real tears, not the controlled corporate kind. Her composure gone. Gerald Patterson, the chairman, leaned forward, cold and triumphant. Nathan froze for 3 seconds, then looked away, uncomfortable. Something about the way Patterson smiled, the way Rebecca shook, felt wrong. Wrong in a cruel way. He put his headphones back on and returned to work. An hour later, Rebecca passed his desk. Face composed, mask back, but her eyes slightly red, shoulders stiff as if holding herself together with sheer will. Nathan said nothing. They barely knew each other. But he remembered Patterson's triumphant cruelty. The next day, Nathan noticed a tiny discrepancy in the financial data. A series of transactions that didn't add up, routed through subsidiaries in patterns almost deliberate. Most analysts would have missed it. Nathan stared at the numbers, then started pulling threads. 3 nights of late work after Sophie was asleep revealed a pattern: funds funneled from operational accounts into shell companies. Small amounts, spread out to avoid detection. Someone was embezzling systematically. He traced the authorizations. They pointed to Rebecca Ashford's office. He leaned back, staring at the screen, the woman he'd seen crying. The CFO. The signature on the fraudulent transactions. Nathan dug deeper. The transactions weren't hers. Someone used her credentials, her passwords, her identity, to make it look like her. A framed job. Access logs and server timestamps revealed the ghost in the machine, Gerald Patterson. Every fraudulent transaction traced to him, hidden deep in the system. Patterson was embezzling, and he was setting up Rebecca to take the fall. Nathan knew what he'd seen in the boardroom. Patterson confronted Rebecca with fake evidence, threatening to destroy her career. The tears, the fear, it wasn't real, it was orchestrated. He wrestled with what to do for 2 days. Going to the board meant going to Patterson. Police could expose company secrets. Telling Rebecca risked admitting he'd watched through the glass, against policy. Employees caught spying were disciplined or fired. Technically, Nathan had violated that rule by glancing up. Friday afternoon, Rebecca stopped at his desk. Surprised him, she never did. Nathan, right? Analytics? Yes, ma'am. I need the 3 Guatemalan quetzals transaction reports. Full detail. My office. End of day. Of course. 4 p.m. delivery. She nodded and left. Nathan looked down at the months of digital forensics on his personal laptop. Decision made. At 3:58 p.m., he walked to her office with printouts and laptop. Her assistant waved him in. Rebecca looked up, slightly surprised. Nathan, the reports? Yes, ma'am. But I need to tell you something that sounds strange. Rebecca set down her pen. Go ahead. Tuesday last week, I accidentally saw you in the boardroom. I wasn't watching intentionally, just looked up for a second. You were crying, and I saw the meeting involved financial transactions tied to your accounts. Rebecca froze still. The kind of stillness that could be fear or fury. You saw that? Yes. Company policy says I shouldn't have. If you want to fire me, I understand. But before you do, Nathan opened his laptop, turned it to her. I traced the transactions. The ones they accused you of? Not yours. Someone with board-level access used your credentials. They've been framing you for months. Rebecca's eyes raced over the data. Color drained, then returned. How did you? This is Patterson, Nathan said. How long have you been working on this? Since Tuesday night. I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Rebecca was silent a long time. Finally, whispering. Do you understand what you've done? Patterson is chairman. If he finds out before we act. I know. That's why I came to you first. Not the board, not police. You. Because you're being framed. And the data proves your innocence. Rebecca closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, devastation was replaced with determination. Nathan, I need complete honesty. When you saw me crying, did you watch the meeting? 3 seconds. Then I looked away. I promise. Rebecca studied him. You spent a week protecting my reputation based on 3 seconds of seeing me vulnerable. You could have ignored it. Could have minded your own business. Instead, you dug into something that could have gotten you fired, or worse. Why? Nathan thought about Sophie, about what he'd tell her if she ever saw someone hurt, and asked why nobody helped. Because it was wrong. What was happening to Rebecca was wrong, and he had the skills to find the truth. Ignoring it felt riskier than acting. Rebecca nodded slowly. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm calling our outside legal counsel tonight. We go to the FBI, not the police. This is wire fraud, it's federal. Patterson doesn't know you have this evidence. We keep it that way until the FBI is ready to move. What about me? The policy violation? Rebecca almost smiled. Nathan, you broke a rule to save my career. I think we can let that slide. Thank you, ma'am. Don't thank me yet. This is about to get very complicated. And it did. The FBI investigation took 3 months. 3 months of Nathan secretly feeding data to agents while Rebecca acted normal around Patterson. Both of them knew the truth but couldn't reveal it. Any slip could have made them targets. Nathan told no one, not even Sophie, who noticed her dad was quieter than usual. Just work stuff, princess. Nothing to worry about. Promise. Promise. On a Thursday morning in January, FBI agents arrived at Meridian Consulting, at Patterson's home, his bank accounts, and the 3 shell companies he'd created. The arrests were swift, quiet, and crushing to the man who once sat at the head of the boardroom with a triumphant smile. Gerald Patterson was charged with 17 counts of wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Nathan's evidence formed the backbone of the case. Rebecca called Nathan into her office that afternoon. The door closed. Her eyes were wet, but different from the tears he'd seen through the glass wall. Nathan, I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to. It was the right thing. You risked everything, your job, your safety, your daughter's stability. For me, for the truth. You just happened to be the one harmed by a lie. Rebecca leaned back, eyes hard to read. The board is restructuring. Patterson's gone. 2 other seats need filling. I'm being promoted to interim CEO while the transition happens. That's great news. You deserve it. I'm also creating a new position. Chief Integrity Officer. Someone responsible for monitoring financial systems, catching fraud, protecting the company from what Patterson did. Someone with your skills, your ethics, and your courage. Nathan blinked. You're offering me that job? I am. Better salary, your own team, direct access to me, complete job security. I'll personally guarantee it. Rebecca, Miss Ashford, professionally speaking, I'm honored, but will the hours work? Sophie's schedule doesn't bend. Rebecca smiled. Nathan, you saved my career working nights after Sophie went to bed. The least I can do is make sure you're home by 5 every day to pick her up. Nathan accepted. Within 6 months, he built a monitoring system that made Meridian one of the most fraud-resistant financial firms in the country. His team caught 2 more attempted frauds in the first year alone. But the real change happened quietly. Rebecca began stopping by Nathan's desk, not for work, but to talk about life. How Sophie was doing in school. What Nathan had cooked for dinner. Small, ordinary moments that built trust and connection. "You know," Rebecca said one Friday, leaning against his desk with a coffee, "when you walked into my office with that laptop, I thought you were going to fire me." "Fire you? You're the CFO, I'm an analyst. You walked in with info that could destroy or save my career. Power had nothing to do with titles. I never thought of it that way. No, you just thought about doing what was right." Rebecca smiled, warmth beyond professional gratitude. "That's rare, Nathan. Rarer than you know." Their relationship grew slowly, naturally. One Saturday, Rebecca came by Nathan's apartment to drop off documents. Sophie was there. "You must be Sophie." Rebecca crouched to her level. "You're my daddy's boss, lady." "I am." "Your daddy is very good at his job." "I know. He's good at everything." Sophie studied her. "Are you nice?" "I try to be." "Do you like pancakes?" "Daddy makes the best, and we always have too many on Saturdays." Rebecca glanced at Nathan, who looked mortified. "I would love pancakes," she said, staying for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. By the time she left, Sophie had declared she was definitely coming back. "She's easy to love," Rebecca whispered. "She gets it from her dad," Nathan said, immediately regretting how smooth that sounded. Rebecca laughed. A year after the FBI raid, Rebecca proposed to Nathan during Saturday breakfast. Sophie had hidden the ring in the pancake batter and guided Nathan to the correct one. Nathan bit into the pancake, felt something hard, pulled out the ring. Sophie's tiny scroll read, "Say yes. Love, Sophie." Rebecca knelt beside the table, laughing with tears. "Nathan Cross, you peeked through a glass wall and saw me at my worst. Then spent a week fixing it. Will you marry me? You're proposing because I broke company policy?" "No. I'm proposing because you risked everything to do the right thing." Nathan looked at Sophie, bouncing in her chair. "What do you think, princess?" "Say yes, Daddy." "Yes. Obviously yes." They married that autumn. Sophie was the maid of honor, clipboard in hand, taking the role seriously. Nathan's wedding toast made everyone laugh and cry. "A year and a half ago, I glanced up and saw something I shouldn't. Company policy said don't look. My conscience said look closer. I chose my conscience. That 3-second glance led me to the truth, to the woman I love, and to a life I never imagined for me and my daughter." He raised his glass. "To breaking the rules for the right reasons. To noticing when others don't. To paying attention." Rebecca smiled through tears. "To paying attention. To paying attention," Sophie echoed, apple juice raised. "Because sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting danger, it's noticing what others ignore. Caring enough to act, even when it's risky." Nathan had peaked. Everything changed. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes in doing the right thing, even when it's dangerous. Subscribe for stories about integrity, courage, and the small choices that change everything. Comment about a time paying attention made all the difference. Sometimes the most heroic act is simply refusing to look away.